The main event was good, the rest of the card wasn't. I'm John Redland with the retro review of NWA WCW Clash of Champions 13, Hey in Award Starrcade 1990, and man, the Black Scorpion angle. It did nothing for Sting, it did nothing for anybody playing the Black Scorpion, did nothing for the fans. Ole Anderson, I don't know why he came up with that. Jim Herd, I know why he greenlit it, because he was a goddamn idiot. But man, thankfully that got blown off in Starrcade 1990 in one of the worst main events this side of the Butcher versus Hulk Hogan. Yes, Brutus Beefcake main evented a Starrcade, believe it or not. It's good to be friends with Hulk Hogan, unless you're a black person, and then he really doesn't do anything good for you. So, cheesy music and graphics, because 1990, the whole Thanksgiving Thunder theme being done to death. No turkey suit, because that was on the other channel at Survivor Series 1990. The same event where The Undertaker made his debut, the Gobbledygooker also debuted. Check out my retro review of that if you want to hear me just say, why the fuck did that happen? JR and Paulie dangerously on commentary, Gary Michael Capetta as the ring announcer, one of my favorite ring announcers of all time, this side of Howard Finkel. It was supposed to be the Freebirds, Hayes and Garvin, and Bobby Eaton versus the Wild-Eyed Southern Boys, the late great Tracy Smothers and Steve Armstrong, along with the giant Elegante, but the Freebirds basically implied that they put Elegante on a ship back to Argentina. That's kind of illegal to do that. You really shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff to another human being. So it was made into a tag match. Eaton was sent to the back. Little Richard Marley, who was the roadie for the Freebirds, was allowed to be at ringside. He kind of got beat up a little bit. None of the matches outside the main event got more than 5.5 minutes. Just want to say that right now. The main event actually was as long as, like, say, 3-4 of these matches put together. That's how short a lot of these matches were, because there were 11 matches on a 2-hour show. And even if you cut out the commercials, even if this event was like 2.5 hours, still 11 matches is way too much. And for a TV special, just so many of these matches, it was just like, hey, we're just going to put these people on the card, and that's about it. And some really bad gimmicks I'll talk about. There's a melee at the end, a dive by Steve under the ramp. Little Richard Marley trips up Tracy Smothers just in time for the DDT from Michael Hayes, 1, 2, 3, and there you go. The Freebirds get the victory. They weren't the real Freebirds. Jimmy Jam Garvin was a whole lot better when he was gorgeous Jimmy Garvin, not when he was, a little bit, roided up, shall we say. He just wasn't very good in that role. Shivani then interviews Sting, and the Black Scorpion interrupts with a voiceover. This is not the only time this would happen. He's going to face the Black Scorpion and let him do his black magic to prove something. Nature Boy Buddy Landell versus Brian Pillman. They really screwed up pushing Pillman. Don't understand why. Aaron Pillman on the ramp. Crossbody to Landell into the guardrail. Looked kind of painful, actually. And then later, crossbody 1, 2, 3. It wouldn't be the worst crossbody attempt that would happen on this show. That's coming up in a little bit. The Big Cat, the future Mr. Hughes, versus the Candyman Brad Armstrong. Who thought an adult giving out candy to children would look good on a wrestling program? Oh boy. Big Cat was wanting to feud with Lex Luger, so he worked on the back of Brad and eventually hit the torture rack. Not quite as good as Luger, which is hard for me to say because I don't really respect Luger. But, yep, the future Mr. Hughes, a.k.a. Big Cat, got the victory. And then we have a Dick the Bruiser promo. He's going to be the referee for the Pat O'Connor International Memorial Tag Team Tournament, finals, I believe. Really, really wordy there. Promos were never Dick the Bruiser's strong suit, but he was a legend in wrestling, especially territorial wrestling, so there you go. And then we get Primetime Brian Lee, the future Undertaker. That's right, the future fake Undertaker. Yep. This guy took on the Z-Man, Tom Zenk. This is only notable because this was the event. It is 30 minutes and 25 seconds in on the WWE Network if you want to see this infamous clip. He hip tosses Brian Lee into the corner. Brian Lee does not have enough time to get ready, and Zenk just does a crossbody into the dead air. I mean, literally, he just does a crossbody. It's absolutely hilarious. I watched it back 5 times before I was able to move on because I was dying laughing. Just fucking ridiculous. I mean, why in the world did he think that was a good idea? Hey, maybe I should check. Nope, I'll just dive. And everybody's laughing. Commentary's trying to cover. JR is like, oh, Brian Lee moved out of the way. Brian Lee was in the next zip code, practically. It was just fucking hilarious. Drop kick off the top, 4-3. Zenk gets the victory despite botching that crossbody just fucking horribly. Michael Wall Street, the former Mike Rotunda and soon to be the future IRS, with Alexandra York, the future Terry Runnels, talking about his match tonight. And Terry Runnels is a really good talker, but this was not good scripting for her. because it was computer readout stuff, and it was just such a hokey gimmick that nobody benefited from it. I thought the York Foundation actually could have worked, even with, giving the, somewhat, corporate names, Thomas Rich instead of Tommy Rich, Richard Morton instead of Ricky Morton, Terrence Taylor instead of Terry Taylor, the computerized man of the 1990s, because computer technology instantly makes me think of Terry Taylor. So Michael Wall Street versus the Star Blazer, Tim Horner, noted idiot in Smoky Mountain Wrestling especially. Why? Why was this happening? It was awkward. Wall Street crash, Samoan drop, 1, 2, 3. There you go. And then they plug the tournament that I talked about. And then we get Sergeant Kruger, who was the late Matt Bourne, and Colonel de Klerk, the future Rocco Rock, versus the Beast and Kalula, not the drink. There was a qualifying match for the Pat O'Connor tournament. They had two African guys versus two guys in military garb from South Africa. Oh boy, there was something a little bit wrong with this. For Turner not wanting foreign object, or not wanting objects to be called foreign objects, to be called international objects, he let a lot of shit slide under the radar on his show, or a lot of shit slid under the radar. It was, I don't know why. Lots of, quick African comments from commentary and everything. Not necessarily anything bad, but just like, why? Why were these gimmicks happening? I also don't know who the Beast and Kalua were. I have no idea. I couldn't find any info on these guys. Dropkick assisted the military guys in winning. One of the guys dropkicked his partner, and he landed on one of the other guys, Beast or Kalula, and, got the victory. Okay, cool. Don't know who won any apartheid of that match. So we get Sam Muchnick plugging the tournament. Sam Muchnick, a long-time, respected wrestling promoter. I think this is just a few years before his death, but hey, it was good to see him on a national broadcast. Video package on Hanson and Luger, where Hanson shockingly beat Lex Luger for the U.S. Championship at Halloween Havoc 1990. I don't know why there was a red ring mat. I still, to this day, I retro-reviewed that a few weeks ago. I have no idea why they had a red ring mat. Don't know. Luger and the Big Cat have words, and then Luger slaps him because Luger's like, "You're beneath me." Slap. And then they would have words a little bit later. Lex Luger versus the Motor City Madman. Big Cat tries to get at Luger again. He gets knocked around and taken to the back, and then it's a squash. Motor City Madman does a few moves, but gets hit with a big lariat because Luger is going to fight Stan Hansen at Starrcade 1990, and Stan Hansen uses the lariat. There you go. So Luger gets a victory. I will say, as much as I don't like Lex Luger, from 88 to 91, especially while he was U.S. champion, but especially 88 to 90, he was goddamn good. He was really getting it. Like, they had him rolling. He was a better heel than he was a babyface because he was naturally unlikable, but he did great work as U.S. champion. I hate to give him credit, but I have to swallow my pride, and I have to put my bias aside. He did really good work. He is one of the best U.S. champions of all time. Interview with Nick Patrick. Problems with the Steiners and Nasty Boys, and it was brief. It was like 30 seconds. The Renegade Warriors, Chris and Mark Youngblood versus the Nasty Boys. They dressed up the Renegade Warriors, who actually were Native American, as basically Native American versions of the Freebirds with the Zuba pants and the face paint and everything. And it was not a very good gimmick, and they took on the Nasty Boys, and it wasn't exactly good because the Nasty Boys were not really any good. About 4.5 minutes in, the Steiners run in because they're feuding with the Nasty Boys with the aforementioned interview. And the Renegade Warriors, apparently, whoever won by DQ, I mean, I don't know. They never announced that, but I would find it funny if the Nasty Boys didn't win by DQ. And then this isn't the last time we see that. We get Sid Vicious, versus the Night Stalker, the future Adam Bomb, the current Brian Clark, future Chronic member. Chronic, watching WCW 2000 has given me new affection, and appreciation for the fact that there were a lot of shit gimmicks there. I don't know how Brian Clark got worse in the ring as his career went along. You're supposed to at least get a little bit better for a number of years. He also had a, plastic or cardboard axe, because Ox Baker was supposed to be his manager. The crowd loves Sid, and Sid working as a face at this point was odd since he was a heel at Halloween Havoc just a month before. Big Cat runs down, Sid fights him off, the axe gets used. I mean, and since it's a, cardboard axe, it's not going to hurt anybody. And Sid hits Night Stalker in the throat with the axe, not with the blade part, but with the handle part, and gets a victory. Then we get a brawl. I don't know why the fuck this happened. Interview with the Freebirds, then the Southern Boys show up. And here's a question. One, why were Zubas ever, popular in fashion? And two, How does Elegante sneak up on anybody? Because, hey, where is he? Oh, there he is. And they're looking, the Freebirds are looking at the goddamn stage. How did they not see a 7'6" giant Argentinian man, show up? I just, it makes everybody look stupid. The way they did the staging, it was very odd. And WWE did similar stuff, having this, commentary on the stage and doing some interviews, but it was framed better because WCW didn't know how to frame shit. Magnum Force, no idea who these guys are, took on the Steiners, U.S. Tag Team Championship match. Magnum Force is not a team I'm familiar with, and that was the state of the U.S. Tag Team division at that point. Because it was quick. Steiner's hugely over. My God, the Steiners are over. And big old Frankensteiner. Scott really had to take special care of this guy because he almost didn't, quite clear it. And Scott had to make sure that he took most of the impact. 1, 2, 3. And then the Nasty Boys run down, and so our story begins again. I think they had a match at Starrcade 90. I think they did. I need to rewatch that, actually. And then Flair and Arn have an interview about the main event. If Flair wins, they face Doom at Starrcade for the tag titles, and Teddy Long has become his chauffeur. Boy, there's no, weird racial undertones with that. Nope. Can't imagine why Turner ever got sued, Turner Broadcasting didn't get sued for racism more often. By people that actually had legit claims. Like Teddy Long and Ole Anderson. Ole Anderson being one of the most racist people in wrestling. Anyway, we get the Danger Zone with Sting. And then the Black Scorpion's doing this black magic. He pulls a fan out of the crowd. Somebody that clearly wasn't, already primed for this. Puts his head in the box and does the old twisty thing where it looks like the head's being dislocated. But it's obvious that there's a head in that thing already. And they just do it, where they just make it look like, oh, no, he's a magician. I don't remember who the magician was that did this stuff, but actually, they did some effective magic trick stuff here, which would have been fine, except it's a fucking wrestling show, so why the hell are magic tricks happening? And then he puts the guy in the box, and then suddenly he turns into a cheetah or a leopard. He turns into the big cat, a better big cat than the one we saw earlier. And then he makes himself disappear. If only this gimmick had disappeared, or never appeared in the first place. And Paulie Dangerously is trying to oversell this because he hosts the Danger Zone because danger. And Sting's just like looking around. Sting had to have been fucking just fuming about this. Like, this is what I come back from injury early and this is what you give me? I'd be pissed. Ric Flair versus Butch Reed in 1990. Butch Reed was nearly done as a full-time performer. Doom would be done as tag team champions right after Super Brawl. Was it Super Brawl 91, I think? And then they would lose the tag titles soon after. They would feud, and I think they would culminate at whatever the May pay-per-view was. Which, honestly, Butch Reed was, he had a lot of injuries. He would make sporadic appearances, but Ron Simmons was the one they were priming. And it was a coin toss, and it was either going to be, it was going to be any combination of them facing off. And then if Butch Reed won, by the way, Doom would not have to give a rematch to the Horsemen, well, Flair and Arn, because there wasn't really any Horsemen. I think Sid was, but he was kind of de facto, and he was gone from the company soon after. And then Teddy Long would also get the yacht and the limousine and all the stuff from Ric Flair. The match was good for what it was. I mean, Flair could always make anybody look like $1 million, even if they were near the end of their career, like Butch Reed was. And we get a lot of run-ins, Arn and Simmons, taking shots while the referees turn around. We get a chair shot, and Flair gets a victory. And there you go. So, Ric Flair gets victory. I believe this was actually a pretty good match at Starrcade 1990, as I recall. There weren't a lot of standout matches at that. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Not a very good clash, but at least it ended with a pretty hot crowd and a pretty good match. Even with all the interference. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe. Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.